All right, so today we're going to continue talking on emotional intelligence and follow up from last time about anger. Anger is a very sensitive topic for everybody because we all experience anger. We are supposed to experience anger the way the physical body is constructed to experience anger for when we need to defend for our lives. But what happens with all the stresses of life, we begin to run our anger and engage in our feeling of anger, even when we don't have to defend for our life, because we are overwhelmed. So tonight I'm going to present 10 different ways that will help you move from anger to equanimity. Equanimity means to maintain your composure and your calm at all times. Whatever you feel inside, you're going to maintain your composure at all times. That's what equanimity means. And it is possible to keep composure and tranquility when everything around you is chaotic. It is possible. Equanimity is the opposite of what most of us experience this day. It's the ability to remain calm and composed at all times. And the number one way to move from anger to equanimity is that all your emotions begin with a thought. And this is in contrast to what many people believe. And it's common to believe that something bad happens first and then we feel bad. But you can remember a past experience and feel bad, right? It's just a thought. Or you can look forward to the future and feel excited. So that too is just a thought. So you can recognize that your thoughts create your emotional states. Number two is to maintain an awareness of your thoughts. Keep track of what you're thinking. You are not your thoughts. Let me say that again. You are not your thoughts. You are that which notices that you're thinking. When you begin to have negative thoughts, it's important to recognize that fact. It's like, I have negative thoughts. And you can avoid allowing your emotion to build. So don't let your emotions build up. You can simply notice that you're thinking negatively, kind of sort of like, I'm having negative thoughts. That's it. Number three is to examine your thoughts without being judgmental. And this means to notice your thoughts, but notice your thoughts on a deeper level. And you can develop a curiosity about your thoughts and about your thinking patterns. And you can ask yourself why you are having the thought that you're thinking. Just be amused with this, because this can get very, very amusing. Why are you thinking the thought you're thinking? All right, so number four, you can focus on your breathing. See, there's something mystical and nothing mystical about your breath. But what happens with your breath is that the breath is always there with you. And breathing is one of the bodily functions that you can control. So when we get angry over something that we don't have control over. So if you focus on your breathing, you satisfy the need for anger, the need for control, was stage in anger. So you begin to exercise control over your breathing, because breathing impacts your physiology. I mean, I've talked about it before, just conscious breathing. Activates your parasympathetic nervous system and so many other things. But the thing is that when we get angry, it's because we don't have control over things, or things have happened without our consent. And we need to grab onto something real, to something that we can control, and that will be your breath. Every single time it will be your breath. So focus on your breath and keep in mind that in the present moment, you are dealing with your breath. That is what's very real. The breathing that you breathe is very real. your thoughts that you're thinking. Why are you thinking the thoughts that you're thinking? But the breathing is always just a focus on your breath, because it will prevent your mind from running wild, and it will calm your emotions and your body. And number 5, let go. Let go, let go, let go. It's that simple. You don't have to allow yourself to become upset. Just take a deep breath, let it out, and let go of the negative feelings and energy inside of you. So just relax. Number 6, practice imagery. Like if the sight of your ex sends you into a rage, for example, imagine seeing them without this rage. I'm going to talk about this later. And you can run through the process in the comfort and privacy of your own home. The more you practice, the easier it will be to take back control of your emotions. So you can always imagine someone that upsets you. You can imagine them without upsetting you. That takes a little practice. And strong emotions are very distracting. It's not that it's not reasonable to believe you can control yourself in the most challenging situation, but practice will help you maintain equanimity most of the time. So just acknowledge that strong emotions are for people. Even animals have strong emotions. Plants and trees, they have emotions. And look at the weather. The weather has really, really strong emotions. Yeah. So breathe through it, because breathing brings you in present time, and that is yours to control. Number 7, always focus on solutions. Getting upset doesn't create the best mental state for finding solutions. No, I always recommend to not make life-changing, life-altering decision when we are in a state of upsetness, negative states, sad states, depressive state, highly anxious states. I do not recommend making life-altering decision. Now, equanimity doesn't mean being happy and satisfied with all kinds of mess around it. Right? It means dealing with a situation appropriately, but avoiding experiencing the strong emotion, the anger emotion that impede your ability to function optimally. So you want to be in your optimum function at all times. And working on a solution is much more effective than worrying, because worrying doesn't take you anywhere. It gives you the sensation that it's real, and you control something that you're worrying, but it doesn't take you anywhere. Breathing through it will take you further. Number 8, of course, is meditation or self-hypnosis. And if you're following all of the steps, you're already meditating just by listening to what I just said. This is kind of sort of a guided meditation. Not exactly quite, but kind of sort of, almost. You can focus on your breath, notice your thoughts, and bring your attention back to your breath, and let go of negative emotions. And most meditative practices follow this general format. Number 9, be mindful. Keep your thoughts centered on your current activity or your environment. There you go. That's another definition of mindfulness. Keep your thoughts on what you're doing at the moment. Like right now, what I'm doing in the moment, it's talking about being mindful. So my thoughts are allocated only to what I'm going to talk about, being mindful. And if you're having a conversation with somebody and you're listening to somebody, try to stay focused with that person 100% possible, meaning not having other kind of 100 different thoughts running at the same time. With 100% mindfulness, equanimity, it's all but guaranteed. And number 10, when you're feeling calm and centered, attempt to maintain it. breathe through it and have an intention. I'm maintaining my calm and center. I am maintaining my calm and center. So kind of repeat that in the back of your head like a mantra. And then you will notice that it will make you feel better. Now, it's not going to make you feel 100% better because you haven't done all the work for it to make you feel 100% better, but it will have you on your way to feel better. And that's the feeling you want to maintain. When you start to drift away from that state, you can always tend to bring back, like, I'm feeling calm and centered, I'm feeling calm and centered. Because maintaining a state of equanimity is it's not as difficult as you think. It's not. It takes a little bit of practice. And I have plenty of thought feeling practices for you available for you to practice. And you will find that your success will come most easily in a mildly irritating situation. Not when your irritation is at 80, 90%. That's not when you want to practice equanimity. It just doesn't work that way. You want to begin practicing mindfulness and being calm and center when you're just a little bit irritated, right? And as this skill grows, and as you begin to practice my thought feeling practices, self-hypnosis and all kinds of other things, but the thought feeling practices I offer are different than meditation and different than self-hypnosis. They're just different than thought feeling practices. They're a system that connects your mind with your body all together. And as the skill grows, you can conquer situations that are much more challenging. And if you're actively living your life, total equanimity is an incredible challenge. But even a little will greatly benefit your life. So why not be challenged and challenge yourself to shift in equanimity? So I'll give it to Randy now. Randy?
And there a couple of questions on Facebook too that we may want to address. One of the things that is important about breathing, I hear it all the time. I hear it every day. Somebody will say, "Just breathe, just breathe." And my first thought is, well, we are breathing. I mean, we don't have to be reminded to breathe, right? And what's being said, obviously, I guess, is that be aware mindfully, like Carmen was saying, be aware mindfully on your breath, what it feels like to go in and to go out. In and out. Excuse me. What does it feel like going through your nose? Does it feel like in your lungs? Lungs furnish the food to start the blood. What does it feel like going out? Different temperature. Be aware. Why? Why am I doing this? Well, for two things. Carmen alluded to them. One is just to slow things down and to immediately keep the body from going into a parasympathetic response, bringing things, slowing down, slowing the heart rate, slowing the blood pressure, slowing the mind, slowing all that stuff down. Because if we're in an agitated, upset state, we're probably going to make very agitated, upset decisions. And then the second reason is hypnotists use a word called grounding. Carmen is very familiar with that. Hypnotists will say, well, help somebody to ground themselves. Well, what do they mean? Well, they mean get the client back to a sense of where they are in the present, in the moment. Keep their mind, especially if they're thinking about something that's upsetting them, or that's they're not responding in a way that's being very helpful, it can come back to the current state of mind, come back to where you are right now, and breathing, being aware. And if you ever go through hypnosis, you'll probably hear the hypnotist say, okay, be aware of your breathing, be aware of your chair, be aware of your breathing going in, going out. That's called grounding. It helps the mind stay focused on only what is happening right now, which in a philosophical sense, as I understand it, is the only thing we can deal with. Can't fix the past, can't change the past. Future, we can't predict the future, but we know the now. And the now is, there's nothing more now than breathing. And then the last thing I'd say is technique. One of the things, Carmen, that they're being it's being asked on Facebook is like, are there certain techniques? You could speak to those, but one of my favorites is called squared breathing. Squared breathing, and that's 4 seconds in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4, and wait for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Square breathing. 4, 4, 4, 4.
All right, thank you, Randy, very much. That's very, very helpful. I see that somebody is asking us that are there tips and tricks that one can do to reduce their physical hyperactivity spasticity? Yes, there are to a certain degree. When we have chronic illness, spasticity is a big topic of conversation. I can talk about it for a long, long time, and it's something I've addressed in my books, Creating Ease and Creating Ease at Work. Before I go deeper into the topic, I would like to mention that everything in life is a wave. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. Life itself happens and creates as a wave. So does our physical body, works with waves, up and down, up and down, up and down. The heartbeat, the EEG, the muscles, everything is just in and out, up and down. It's a constant flow. In hyperactivity, especially muscle spasticity, well, when we have injuries and when we have been in traumatic injuries, skeletal muscle spasticity are best resolved, well, after we begin to breathe and we breathe deeply, are best resolved with gentle exercises. And some of the exercises for muscle spasticity, skeletal muscle spasticity, tend to be quite boring. So if somebody happens to be hyperactive but then needing to engage in some of the boring exercises to reduce muscle spasticity, it can trouble their mind a little bit. But if you remind yourself, it's like, okay, I need to just go through the boring stuff because it will help my skeletal muscles. And once my skeletal muscles are helped, then that will help my mind. And it's just gonna go into a circle and a circle and a circle, and it will help. Now, another question is addressed here about self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis is very different from meditation. Meditation implies you enter into that state of oneness, calmness, and oneness, and you quiet your mind. And that's why there's so many different types of meditation. Self-hypnosis has a particular purpose in mind. You go and you sit in quiet, and with tonight's example of muscle spasticity, you go think and visualize in self-hypnosis, you see and think and try to feel it a little bit, but not at the beginning. Just first you begin to have an intention to calm down the spasticity of your muscles, and see if you can visualize something that goes very spastic rapidly into more of a smoother wave. If you can visualize that, it will help. Yeah, some people can visualize, some people cannot, and then some people can change what they see with their imagination, can make things happen faster or quicker, or they can make shapes larger or smaller. And if you have the capacity, that's a excellent, that's a tremendous skill to have. So if you have that skill, go ahead and use that skill. And it just imagine the spasm, instead of going in, have them go this way, right? And during the self-hypnosis, you can breathe yourself through that, to the rhythm to which you reduce the spasticity, right? So you can start there, right? If more is needed, we can, of course, always attempt a hypnosis session and give that a try, and see how that's going to help. But the most important thing to remember, to take out of this, is that if your mind is hyperactive and you need to calm down your physical body, you need to negotiate with your mind to allow it to be bored while you do the simple exercises required for your skeletal muscles. Negotiate with your mind. All right? All right. So, and you do this the best you can, because having been to a traumatic injury, it's no joking matter. And once the injury has taken place, the normal functions and the normal transmissions between the organs, between the nervous system and the receptivity of the neurotransmitters and all of the other functions that organs, they transmit signals and receive signals and input and output and all that. So in a case of traumatic injury, a lot of those, the transmission of that is being disrupted. And you do your best with self-hypnosis, and you have to give it time. Yeah, you have to give it time and be patient with it. And then when you notice that hyperactivity comes in a way, and just think to yourself, oh, I'm hyperactive. Okay, let's get back to self-hypnosis. And then you'll be hyperactive again, and you say, oh, I'm hyperactive again. Thank you very much. And you go back. So you do the best you can, but consistency will take you far, because you are interested in this, you are going to be able to do it. Most people would not even be interested in this. And I commend you for being interested in wanting to do this after being exposed to this ugly trauma. So be persistent and consistent and insistent. All right? Randy?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was writing down. In fact, self-hypnosis or relaxation or meditation work wonders. And for something that is happening without something that's what's the word I'm trying to think of, not spontaneous, but happens without us making it do it, is wonderful for hypnosis to do wonders with. And honestly, Carmen, I'm not sure if you would agree or not, but to get the effects of hypnosis, I think doing like a relaxation exercise. There's 100,000 million of them on the internet. Autogenic is one of my favorites because it's very, very rapid, quick, does involve breathing. But if one practices it over and over, practice makes perfect, then the more practice, the same as practicing a trombone or a clarinet, practice makes perfect. It goes up, 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 up. It makes it easier and makes it more effective. So doing, for instance, the square breathing exercise, if somebody wants to try that out in the morning, doing it in the morning for 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, but doing it every day, every morning for a month, for instance, or maybe for 2 weeks, doing it in the evening for 5 minutes, so that's 10 minutes a day out of a 12-hour day. So it's just a matter of practicing it and doing it and sticking with it. I know, and I'll give you an example. I have what's called white coat syndrome, where if I go to see a doctor, my blood pressure goes up. And I will have high blood pressure when they take the blood pressure. Well, I'll go home, my blood pressure is more normal. But in their office, it's there. And the last time that happened, I was getting some blood drawn, and it was high. The nurse took it. It was high. I said, "Okay, wait a minute. Let me take care of this myself. Let me do some relaxation." Did my square breathing, 1, 2. Even tried to do some self-suggestions. My blood pressure will lower. My blood pressure will lower. And I said, okay. And she took it again. She goes, well, it's higher now. So my effort to lower my blood pressure, to lower my stress, to lower all that, we did the exact opposite. Why? Because I was stressed out trying to do it. So if I had taken maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the doctor's meeting, before I met with the nurse, before they went in, if I had been smart and done it maybe in my car or maybe in the waiting room, then I might have had the better effect. If I had used more time, if I practiced it a day or two beforehand, but I was having very unrealistic expectations. And what happens is it makes the blood pressure go higher. So I was not a good example to this nurse of self-hypnosis at that moment. That's for sure. So anyway, just reinforcing what you were saying, Carmen, about continuing to practice. It was what I would add.
Thank you, Randy. That was very good. And there's another question I want to address. The question is, will hypnosis help heal severed, shared neuron connections in one's mind? In your mind, it will help it. In your brain, maybe. Depends on the severity of the trauma. But hypnosis, it is famous for its neuroplasticity. And the human body is enormously intelligent. And what that means that the body figures out how to operate even when something is off. And if we are to take, this is not the example, but if we are to take the example of spinal cord injuries, for a while after the injury, a lot of people cannot walk. Or if they need to walk in a wheelchair, they won't know how to do it. So it takes a little bit of time to adapt to it. Now, with the spinal cord injuries, some people will never walk again, but they will learn to adapt into walking with a wheelchair or a walker or a cane or whatever other help that's needed depending on the situation. But also through the power of neuroplasticity, the brain is very plastic. Consciously, the brain, we barely use like 5-10% of the brain, right? Well, the brain is not your mind. I see your question. The brain is not your mind. Your mind is what uses your brain. A brain is a tool. And the mind is that which you think with. The brain is that which sends neurotransmitters and signals to back and forth through your organs. And the mind involves your heart and your mind all together. It's the mind is much more complex. The mind is more flexible. It's the more flexible part of the body that is. And because of this flexibility, neuroplasticity it's been proven to be highly successful with this, but it takes time. It takes time. So if you go about it and try hypnosis and you give it 3, 4, 5, 6, 20 sessions and say, well, it didn't work, it might take more than that. Yeah. So for this reason, all of the sessions done during the hypnosis, I would recommend to be recorded. Not a private conversation. That's just the guided portion of the hypnosis. And once you have that recorded, then you go home and you do that again. And you might be hyperactive, might be get bored with that, maybe not. The thing with that, you will have a different experience. Even though you listen to the same recording, you will have a different experience every single time. And it's like little light bulbs will turn on. It's like, oh, aha, with or without your awareness. And then all of a sudden you will find some small improvement. And then there will be good days and then bad days. But deliberate practice, if you're interested in this and you are willing to practice this and you're going to be consistent with it, you will get results. How much results? We don't know. You will know and you will tell us how much results you will get. But as long as you are willing to work with it and you are excited about getting results, all it takes is willingness. Willingness to practice, and then you have the recordings, and then you practice it again and again and again and again, and then you have a session, and then you practice that session 6 more times, and then you have another session one-on-one, once a week, or hopefully once a week, or if not every other week, depending on your budget. But then you take the recording and you practice. I cannot stress this enough. So it's gonna take a long time. It's going to take a long time. And how much improvement, we don't know. But you are free and welcome to try, because it's your body and you have dominion over your body. And wouldn't it be wonderful for you to just make some miracles out of it? Not somebody else's miracles, but your miracle. And just go about it. It's like, hey, I'm going to make a little miracle today. I'm going to grow a few neurons. I'm going to reconnect something that has been physically severed. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to prove that to anybody, but you don't need to prove it to anybody. And you don't need to expect yourself that, oh, okay, I connected a few. That doesn't work like that. All you have to do is just be consistent and persistent. This is deliberate practice and go with it. And have fun. I mean, hypnosis, it's wonderful. One of the most amazing experiences you can have. It's in your mind, with your mind, not your brain, not your body, but with your mind. You can still have the most amazing experiences, even if your body is not working well. Just allow yourself. So give it a try, all right? Randy?
One thing I was just wanted to mention, you were mentioning plasticity of the brain. I'm not sure everyone is aware of what plasticity is. So I just was going to just mention that briefly. I have to remember there are billions with a B of neurons in our brain. Billion is a lot. We were very pleased in this country when we had 10 million people take the COVID vaccine, and now I think it's up to maybe 100 million or so. That is a fraction of billions. So the amount of neurons in our brain are inconceivably big. I'm out. We know a little bit about it, but we don't know a lot about our brain as much as we think we do, I think, sometimes. So one of the things that happened in my lifetime, other people may not remember this. Do you remember, uh, Carmen, the first Superman who was in the movies in the 70s? His name was Christopher Reeve. He was an actor. Uh, he was the one, his experience started the medical community on the journey of finding that the brain is plastic, meaning the brain can be fixed and molded. He was a very, very famous actor. He was in the first Superman after the 50s, and I think it was 1970 or 80 or something. One very, very, very popular movie. Christopher Reeve made 3 or 4 Superman movies. He was a big horseman. He loved to ride horses. He had a horrible accident. Fell off a horse and was paralyzed from the neck down. The neck. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move his legs. He couldn't go to the bathroom by himself. His stomach wouldn't work. It was a horrible accident. Through his willpower, he was able to move parts of his body, his legs specifically and his feet, that the doctor said would never happen, because before Christopher Reeve, the scientific community believed that brain injuries were permanent and that brain damage was permanent, that all brains were permanent, they don't change. So that if my IQ or whatever, or whoever I am as a brain that I'm born with and grow up with is solid as cement. Thanks to Christopher Reeve and his journey and he stayed, he was alive for maybe 20 years after that horrible accident. I think he fathered another child, I believe. Anyway, thanks to him and his persistence, it changed the belief about what the brain could do. The brain could reconnect and they like to use electrical analogies like rewiring, but somehow there was a reconnection of the neurons, of those billions of neurons, that helped him do something the doctors thought was impossible. So just like Carmen's done hypnosis for 20 years at least, and I'm just brand new to it, everyone who does it sees those kind of things happen, because it's just amazing what the brain can do and what our untapped potential can do once we tap into it. So it's a very Christopher Reeve's story is a remarkable story that gives hope to all of us. And so I just thought I'd expand on that. That's where the belief of plasticity started, really, was after hitting his recovery, because he was doing things that they didn't think was possible for a brain damaged person to do. I think he broke his neck, or something. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, that was an interesting story.
That's a very good story, Randy. Thank you for sharing that with Christopher Reeve. And yes, I do remember Christopher Reeve. I'm not a millennial, so I do remember him very, very clearly. And if the brain has such great neuroplasticity, if we can do that physically, imagine with physical trauma, imagine what we can do with emotions. Emotions, I mean, of course you can get over anxiety with hypnosis. Just be willing to do it. Don't allow your mind to interfere with your mind. Yeah. But also, not just Christopher Reeve, but remember our mentor, Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson was stricken by polio, right? And with polio, there was no brain injury. There was no traumatic injury to the spinal cord or the brain. It was just a virus. a virus that affected his brain, affected his nervous system, and rendered him incapacitated. He was bedridden. He was 17 years old, and he was bedridden for how long? And his intelligence went on going. I mean, obviously, I would like to be bedridden like that. He figured his way out of that by thinking, by remembering movements, by remembering how to swallow, how to talk, how to move his tongue, how to move his hands, how to move his legs. So he's done a lot of self-hypnosis, and here's neuroplasticity again. Self-hypnosis, and he visualized it. He visualized it. And the trick to it is fearfulness. The trick to it is to add a little bit of a feeling, like how would you feel when that happens? And you're going to be able to hold your feelings, but generate a feeling, maybe not for the whole 30 minutes you're going to do self-hypnosis, but a minute here and a minute there, a minute here and a minute there, it doesn't matter. So try to generate the feeling of how would it feel to you. Well, of course, you're going to be happy, but besides happy, going to be excited. Okay, besides that, there's going to be some sort of positive feeling that you're going to feel when that happens, and then feel that feeling intentionally. Imagine that. Imagine this neuroplasticity work and the connections being reconnected, and don't expect them to reconnect in a way that has been done before the injury, because we don't know if that's going to happen, but something will happen. And as much as it happens, or as little as it happens, you made it happen. And then you made it happen. Wow, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to make happen, and to even show a lot of people, hey, look at the difficulty I'm dealing with. It's possible. So you just go on and encourage other people. There's a lot of crybabies over there. There's a lot of criticizers and crybabies over there that they don't know how good they have it. So you want to do it, you go and do it. Yeah. All right, Randy.
Yeah, I think the story of Milton Erickson is a great one too. Not many people know him. They can Google him these days and pull up 10,000 websites on him. But he's a real interesting story to look at. It's very inspirational. Like Carmen was saying, he had 2 bouts of polio. One of them was horrible. Well, both, I guess, were horrible, but one really crippled him later in life. His first one was he was very sick. And I think if I remember right, Carmen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in his first bout, the doctor, he lived out in Wisconsin, I think, and it was out in the country. He lived on a farm, and I think a doctor came by one night after he was stricken, and when he was very sick, and told his mother, and Erickson reports the story, he overheard it saying, bring everyone in, say goodbye to him. He won't make the night. And Erickson told himself that he was going to see one more sunrise. I believe is how the story went. And then he did the next day. He wants to see one more sunrise. It's very inspirational, a life story to look up on Wikipedia, because he became, everybody's not Milton Erickson, but despite these handicaps, besides being very, very ill, he was able to get a medical degree. He was able to be the first editor of the American Journal of Hypnotherapy, I think, or whatever it's called. He was the president of a hypnotherapy society, probably the most influential hypnotherapist, one of the 2 most anyway, in the last century. And it's just very interesting because he was very severely ill, and it's a very inspirational story to read about. It's kind of like Christopher Reeve, and I think it shows again, it's a cliche, the power of the mind, but it's there. I mean, it happens. So, yeah. Cliche is true.
Yes, yes, thank you for that, Randy. And also, let's just say that Milton Erickson, he revolutionized hypnotherapy. And now we have something that is called Ericksonian hypnosis from Milton Erickson, because Milton Erickson figured out that um, the imperative type of hypnosis that used to be done up until him, um, it wasn't. It can be done differently. Let me put it that way. So he came up with more permissive way in hypnotherapy and allow for a conversation during hypnosis and um, even psychotherapy through hypnotherapy. And in Ericksonian hypnotherapy, it doesn't mean that you are being put to sleep and you don't remember what you're doing, because that's not hypnosis. Hypnosis doesn't put you to sleep. Hypnosis awakens you to your potential, to your realization, to realize your potential. So yeah, Milton Erickson revolutionized hypnotherapy, and so many other people have helped. But you see, the thing is that what's been going on lately a lot, I would like to call it a fame virus. Follower, having the need to have followers, and the fame virus. It's, of course, it's a thought feeling type of a virus. And um, what I would like to say is that let it be someone else's problem. Go on and do what you need to do the best you can, plus a little better. Let other people be the way they are, and live your life, give your gifts. We all have gifts. So give your gifts to humankind just the way you have them, because no contribution, no kind and considerate contribution will ever be small enough. Because even if you don't man up a Milton Erickson to come up with an Ericksonian hypnotherapy, you don't need to, because every little change that you do, every small improvement that you make, every step forward that you take in your difficulties contributes to the collective consciousness. And because of your contribution, which is silent, unknown, but because of that contribution, somebody else or a bunch of somebody else, a lot of somebody else people will be able to do what you did and possibly better, because of the power of the collective unconscious. So all is required from you is willingness and self-discipline. You ought to tame that inner critic. I'm not doing it good enough. Yeah, you are. Oh, these people are doing wrong. Well, let the people do the best they can, right? Because if you occupy your thoughts with the negative, what do you think is gonna evolve and unfold in your life? So you ought to occupy your thoughts with that which you wish to create, with that which you wish to output. So what is the output desired? In a case of traumatic brain injury, the output desire for right now, for this evening, is neuroplasticity. You want to reconnect some of the neurons, build new neurons and make new connections. Maybe you're going to make a connection next to the original connection, right? So that would be your output. That's not an output you can measure like most science, but you will be able, you will know, and you don't need to measure. All you need to do is keep doing that. And You don't need someone's permission to improve yourself the best way, in the best way you can. And you don't need their permission, and you don't need someone's measuring whether you improved good enough, you didn't improve good enough. As long as you're doing it and you're consistent with that, that's all it takes. A little bit of enthusiasm. It's like, yeah, I'm doing it. I did good. Okay, let me do better. I'm doing it. Just a little bit of enthusiasm. So when you're gonna catch yourself not having enthusiasm about it, like, oh, I'm not doing good enough. Oh, look at other people, what they're doing. Just say, okay, thank you. Oh, I caught myself. Come back and start. I'm doing good. I'm doing healthy. I'm reconnecting neuroplasticity. Whatever your output is. Now kind of be excited, like, no, like a little kid. This state of curiosity and excitement, like a little child, it creates neurotransmitters. It creates a lot of neurotransmitters, and if you, a lot of things happen. So I give you a big secret right now. I give you a big secret, and if you don't know, when earlier I guided you to add the feeling to it, and if you don't know what feeling to add, just add this feeling. No. And do the self-hypnosis and keep on doing it. And then you're gonna drop it and come back. And you're gonna drop it and come back, and drop and come back. This is a skill. This is a tremendous skill. And you're doing the whole collective unconscious a favor by doing this. Now, probably nobody's going to build a statue after you, but do you need a statue? I don't need a statue. I'm okay with my name not being displayed all over. If you see me talking about me, I don't talk about me. I talk about creating is. If you ask me what's my name, what creating is. Why? Because my name is not important. The message I'm sending is more important. Creating is my message. And that's how I go about it. Creating is. I don't go about my name, first name, last name. That's not important. That's just a name. But creating is the message. Yeah? All right. Randy?
The thing that I think is important to remember too, when we're talking about what hypnosis can do, or self-hypnosis, or meditation, or just simple relaxation, is it's important to remember that these are not flaky, hippie ideas that are new age and that are on the same, these are not like reading a crystal ball or tarot cards. These things that we're talking about tonight are very scientifically based. Hypnosis has been studied for a century, really almost. And the idea of us, how much power our brain has, is still being researched over and over. Everyone just has to look on the internet, find dozens and hundreds of scientifically based, evidence-based studies that show that the power of our subconscious or the power of our minds is still there. For instance, still there, it's always there, and it's there powerfully. There's been lots of studies about how hypnosis can do things like reduce pain, reduce suffering. It does. They did a study with women with breast cancer. I don't have, memorized the studies, but I was hearing about it last night again. That the women who used self-hypnosis and meditation while undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer, and the control group did not, the women who used those techniques, not only they had less pain, their recovery period was quicker, their quality of life got better quicker, their medicine wasn't different. They didn't have a better chemotherapy or better doctors or nurses or whatever, or social workers. Their mind got them to that point. And it's just amazing how, and Carmen and I hear about it because we know other professionals, but whenever I'm taking a course or whenever I listen to somebody that's a professional hypnotist, the first thing they say practically, every one of them is, you can't believe, you will be astonished at how helpful this is. And it's not because we're magical or that I have a magic wand or that I know some secret to the universe or that the universe has somehow blessed me with some kind, or Carmen and blessed us with some kind of healing powers. No, it's the power that they're talking about is the power of the client. We will be amazed at what our clients can do for themselves. And the reason I'm saying that is to encourage, to remind everybody that there's hope for anything. And this is very evidence-based work, and it's really impressive. So, right? I mean, right, Carmen?
Yes, yes, very right. Only that I am bestowed with some mystical healing power. I have a little bit of healing juice. Okay, now I'm being naughty. Yes, the mind is more powerful than anything in the world, and is more flexible and the most powerful, because mind over matter, it's not small matter. Right? So have fun with this. I mean, there's so much ugliness in the world. Why have your thoughts occupied with all of the ugliness in the world? Why have your thoughts occupied with who is doing badly or wrongly, or unless you can literally do something about it to help? If signing a petition for that helps, go ahead and sign the petition. If doing something peacefully about it helps, go ahead and do something peacefully about it. But to have your mind, to have your thoughts occupied with what other people are doing wrong, it's a disservice to you. You are not being kind to yourself when you occupy your thoughts with what other people are doing wrong. Right? Some people, it is their job to do that. It is their job to get on TV and talk about what other people are doing. That's their job. But your job, your number one job is to yourself. Your number one job is to occupy your thoughts with that which nurtures you. And criticizing other people, it's not nurturing. It might be a little bit of venting, but that's not nurturing. So find the thoughts that nurture you and think those thoughts, because those thoughts are going to create a thought feeling pattern. And when the thought feeling pattern is registered, it will replicate by itself. It's not a secret I gave you. All right. So, but it takes a while for it to register this pattern. It takes repetition. I don't know how many repetition, but it takes repetition. They said it takes at least 21 days. To develop a new skill, it takes at least 21 repetitions. Well, it takes a bit more for it to be registered to your subconscious in a way in which you want it to be registered. And then you will know when it's there. Only you will know when it's there. Because you're thinking it. You still have, you can still think. I don't care how good you talk. I don't care how good you walk. You're thinking. You're still feeling, right? And yeah, do that. Do that. Occupy your thoughts with that which nurtures you, that which contributes to your desired outcome. Now, you want to be calmer, then don't keep thinking about what other people are doing wrong, because you're not going to be calmer. You're going to vent, but you're still engaged in a state of anxiety when you vent. Go ahead and vent, but let it vent. Out of 5 minutes, vent for a minute, and then have 4 minutes with, I'm calm, I'm resilient, I'm attaining equanimity. That's a brand new word you've learned today. Equanimity, calm and composed, and breathe and breathe and breathe some more. And it's that mind over matter, and your mind is a beautiful mind for having listened to us for an hour. And we're going to say goodbye. Goodbye for tonight. And we'll be back next week. And Randy, anything you want to add for good night?
No, I think that's covered it. Done well. Good point.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions. And I'm happy to see your questions. Please send us some more, and we will address the best we can. And if you need any more direction, feel free to contact us. And for sessions, definitely reach out to us. And I keep telling people, my fees are on a sliding scale. I do this because I love helping people. So if somebody really, really wants to help themselves and they don't have the funds to do it, I will work with them. Yeah. All what matters to me most is that you do the work, because I want to see improvement. So good night, sleep tight, sweet dreams, and we'll see you next time. All right. Night.